This is Colorado. What do you want? Oh wow, yeah, that is quite. So right across the bridge, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Parents, all right, mom. More concentration.
Right.
But yeah, definitely there should be a lot of
Getting ready to graduate.
This year.
Yeah.
Don't want to be in the way. I don't want the people that are alive for me to see hair.
No, my daughter's over there. But you're looking at Jill. Jill looks just like Jill. Looks a lot like me. And that was, you know, I'm sure his name's Robin.
Okay, well that makes sense about you. They're close cousins.
Yeah, I know. The rainbow too is pretty incredible. Yeah, I just kind of all.
Remember cousin Steph?
I know. We look a lot alike. Stop about being grass.
It's like, is that your daughter?
She came here naked, so she only got some just now.
Anybody better? You want to come with Daddy?
Will you help them be a pallbearer? Will you be a pallbearer?
Did you finally
get me some help right now? Oh.
If I can invite all family to please take their seats and come forward at this time.
Thank you, honey. Yeah. Hey, Winter, where are you? Oh, you go. Your daughter? I don't know.
DNA.
I was like, oh God, here she goes. Here she goes. I know that, but I expect. I don't expect that.
So invite everyone to please come forward, fill in this area. I can also remind everyone to please turn off your cell phone. Can you see that all right?
We are going to be.
Switch it around.
Go to the other side, Steve, so it's. Mizamor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, Bino tedesh yarbit seini, Alemei menuchot yinahaleni, Nafshi yeshovev, Yanacheni b'maglei tzedek, Leman shemo, Gam kielech v'geitz al mavet, Lo yirara, ki ata imadi, shivetecha umishantecha, Eima yenachamuni. Taharoch lefanai shulachan neged sorerai, Vishaneta b'Hashem eroshi, kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed, yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shaveti b'veit Adonai, liorech yamim. From Psalm 23 in the original Hebrew, let us offer it together in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me besides the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Our God and God of our ancestors, our rock and our redeemer, 1,000 years in your sight are as a passing day, an hour of night. Our generations come and go while you endure forever. We are always in your hand, O Lord, in death as in life, trusting in your love and in your decisions. O Lord of mercy, strengthen those who mourn the loss of J. Erwin Gegenberg. Help them to look beyond this moment to realize that death can never sever the bonds of your everlasting love. Sustain them with the knowledge of our faith that you do not abandon souls to the grave. You, O Lord, have taught us the way of life, and through you we gain eternity. And let us all say, Amen. Hope it was nothing I said. We had such a good time last night at the house. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, I should say. I'm Rabbi Chaitovsky from BMHBJ, and when I got a phone call from Jill a couple of weeks ago telling me that Jay's time was limited, I said that I would try to be there and do whatever I could. And then this past Thursday, of course, I got the text, and this was put into motion. Those who knew how much Jay Gegenberg loved life certainly did not expect to be here today. Those who knew just how sick Jay Gegenberg was, are not at all surprised to be here today. Collectively, though, we are all truly saddened to be here. Saddened by the passing of a father, grandfather, and devoted friend who indeed loved life and lived it fully on his own terms every day that he could. It would be tempting to think that he would be the proverbial cat, if not with 9 lives, then perhaps with 2 or 3 still left in him. He was really not sick for even a day for most of his life, but that changed in the past few years. He fought hard to live, echoing the voice of the psalmist who said, Lo amut ki achya, I will not die, but live. But the health challenges ganged up on him and ultimately overwhelmed his ability to fight. I'd like to think that God above decided that it was enough trial and tribulation for Jay and said, it's time to bring him home. And so this past Thursday, Jay's soul left his body and returned to his maker. And his sojourn on earth came to an end after 86 years. Our task on this sunny but still cold March afternoon is to give shape to what we know and love about Jay. For my conversation with his family yesterday, including his daughters Lindsay and Lee, his longtime companion Rosalind, I did not have a chance to speak to Scott. It seems that had Jay been given the opportunity to be here with us today in the flesh, the colder temperatures might not feel as cold. One of the things that everyone around the table last night agreed to was that Jay had an unusually friendly and welcoming manner that would envelop almost anyone, even total strangers, in its warm embrace. He related to people as people. What they did for a living was just that, what they did, but not who they were. He seemed interested in who you were. Jay began life here in Denver, growing up on the West Side, attending Cheltenham, Lake, and North schools. He graduated from DU with a business degree. There was a certain restlessness about him, and he energetically plunged headfirst into a variety of business ventures, including stints in merchandising here in Denver, and a fairly successful run as a marketing director for a California-based company, which took him away from Denver, the Denver he had known and loved, as well as from some people that he had known and loved as well. He had 3 children, Scott, Lindsay, and Lee, each of whom are wonderful, accomplished people with beautiful families of their own. Each relates to their father in his or her own way and from their own individual perspectives and experiences. The love that Jay had for his children was unmistakable. He not only loved them, but was also proud of the people that they became and the accomplishments that they rightfully called their own. Lee related how lovingly and beautifully Jay interacted with his grandchildren, Willow and Winter, when Jay traveled to Dubai for an extended visit not that long ago. His health was already a serious matter that cut that visit short. That time together was precious for all involved. For the last 25 years, Jay was blessed to have the constant companionship of Rosalind Kark. They had met at synagogue, not at a service, but at a party. I'm not sure that services were their thing. They did manage to do everything together, enjoyed life together, and Rosalind saw all the good in Jay, even apparently in his dancing, which according to almost everyone else was almost always done with two left feet. Shabbat and holiday dinners became a standard activity for the two of them and a weekly highlight for them and Rosalind's family to embrace Jay as he embraced them. The number of grandchildren increased exponentially as a result. They made one another happy, and they truly did love one another. I didn't have to ask the question when I met with the family yesterday, and it really was a wide-ranging and beautiful meeting. But I usually ask, what did you learn from your father? And I always ask that question. It doesn't make a difference whether people had a difficult relationship with their father or mother or a totally smooth one. Life is never totally smooth. Everyone has ups and downs. All the trips, the journey of life always has detours and hills and valleys. But everyone around the table seemed to land on the same things. And I believe it's important to share them before we hear from someone who was a lifelong friend of Jay's, and that's Mr. Abe Wagner. And I'll call on him in just a moment. But one of the things, a number of the things that were mentioned yesterday was the non-judgmental manner and the gentle embracing manner of Jay. Not that he was an overly gregarious kind of person, but he did have this unique ability to just bring people in. He was kind and welcoming and personable. He was loyal. He stuck by you through thick and thin. Not everyone may always have appreciated where his loyalties were, but he was loyal. He was non-confrontational. He avoided conflict. And there's ups and downs with that as well. One of the things that struck me was people mentioned his sense of humor and his constant smile. And I'm going to conclude my remarks by telling a story told of a great sage in the Talmud. His name was Rabbi Ben Broka. And he apparently had many conversations with Elijah the prophet. And there's a whole genre of stories in the Talmud about people interacting with Elijah. Elijah was our people's perfectionist. He wasn't always, some say he was never really allowed to die, which is why he always appears at our Passover Seder. And he always appears at a Brit Milah, a circumcision, to see if there will be a messianic perfection to the world, because that's really what he was after. And he could not abide lack of perfection. And Rabbi Ben Baroka asked him, and they're in the marketplace. They're always meeting in the marketplace. I don't know what they were shopping for, but they're always in the marketplace. And Rabbi Ben Baroka asked Elijah, is there anyone here who is destined to merit the world to come? And Elijah said, yes. And he said, who? And Elijah pointed to two people who were like telling jokes and juggling and entertaining a crowd. He said, these are people who are going to be destined to be in heaven. Rabbi Ben Baroka, who spent an entire lifetime studying Torah and living the life of a super religious, committed Jew, said, really? They're going to be the ones to inherit heaven? And Elijah said, yes. They have the ability to comfort people who are anxious, to make people happy when they're sad. They have the ability to relate to people as they are and to transfer the smile on their face to a smile on the other person's face to make everyone feel better. From what I gathered, Jay, many, many times, had the unique ability to transfer the smile that was on his face and make it appear on the face of others who needed that particular thing at that particular moment. There are many other things that people closest to him will remember, and perhaps some of them will share that during the 2 or 3 days of Shiva this coming week. But for now, we know that Jay is gone. It's a little warmer than it was a few minutes ago, and we'll attribute that to him. And all we can say is that while he may be gone physically, for many of us, within us, there is a little bit of his spirit, his heart, and his warmth. And we hope that he ever rests in peace. Tehei Nishmato Surah B'Tzara Chayim, may his soul be ever bound up in the bond of eternal life. And to that we should all say, Amen. Please give your attention for a few moments to Abe Watt.
As I look around here, I think of Jay. Years ago, when he came back to Denver from Los Angeles, it was a cold day. He says, "It's so cold, the trees are looking for the dogs." That was Jay's sense of humor. Can you hear me well? My son's thinking maybe you can't, so he's taking care of me there. Thanks, Doug. So at any rate, much of what the rabbi said I was going to say, so I'm going to leave the family kinds of things out. But I started with humor, and Jay had a great sense of humor. I remember in recent times when he was very ill, I called him one day and I said, "Jay, what are you doing this afternoon?" He says, "Excuse me for a minute." He says, "Well, I'm skydiving this afternoon." And he continues this way. This was Jay. And a man said to Jay, one of the nurses taking care of him, he said, "Jay, are you comfortable?" He said, "I make a nice living." That was Jay, continually with a wonderful sense of humor. He got a haircut, and I said, "Jay, where'd you get the haircut?" He said, "I called a landscaping company." And this is 2 weeks ago when he was very ill. So keep that spirit up. That was Jay. So let me talk a little more about Jay and I met at the Hebrew Educational Alliance on the West Side. I was 10, he was 10, and he was running for the Purim King. And I said, "You're running for the Purim King?" He said, "Not only that, I'm going to win." And he did. He won. He was friendly, caring, and funny. And in those early days, the biggest event in his life was the birth of his son, Scott. And that's really early on, long, long time ago, about 61 years ago, actually. I'm going to leave the family stuff out because you put that in so beautifully, Rabbi. Let me add, my 3 sons were very close to Jay and remain that close. My 2 sons that live in Asia aren't here, but Doug is here. And Doug, Jay referred to as a gem time and time again, because Doug was there regularly to see Jay and be with Jay and help him. My sister Rosalie, who couldn't be here, felt very strongly the same way. Larry Siegel, who has been very important in Jay's life, isn't well enough. Big part of Jay's life too, and cared a lot for him. I'm leaving out the things about family that was already talked about. Let's see. All right. So I also agree that Jay had a warm, welcoming personality. Always had a smile on his face, and he was very laid back. He wasn't an exuberant kind of a guy, just laid back, very comfortable with himself and with the people around him. Let me see if there's anything new I want to say. The West Side Friends, one of the things that happened in the West Side Jewish community is we stayed friends, the people our own age. And we have met time and time again. In fact, there's probably 10 or 12 of that group here, and many from around the country on Zoom watching Jay, and that's because they felt so close to him and he to them. And he was just a wonderful, warm guy. This morning I had breakfast with Scott, his son Scott, and Scott said something that I think all of us need to remember. He did the best he could. And we all do the best we can, given our circumstances and our thought process at a given time. So Jay, old buddy, rest in peace, and you will live forever in our memories. This is his hat, by the way. Just gave
We're going to perform a ritual called Kriya, which means tearing. It used to be tearing of clothing. And just imagine in the ancient world, when people didn't have wardrobes, they had, one or two garments that they would wear. And to tear one of those garments was a serious statement because it involved quite a bit of financial impact. Well, there are people who wear beautiful clothing and suits who do indeed tear their clothing, and in the traditional Jewish world, that is the custom. There's something cathartic about tearing a piece of clothing. We give people an option to do it in a slightly different way through a symbolic ribbon, and we're going to give the family an option to do that today. And for a parent, it goes on the left side, right near where the heart would be. And it's the only relative for whom this is done, a parent. And I'll ask you, if you want to put the ribbon on the left side, make a blessing and tear it in just a moment. You want for Scott, and there's one for your lead. You're Lindsay. I got it mixed up in the story. Okay. Hello. Hi, Willow. Well, this is a little strange.
The sharp brother, no ouchie. Ouchie, my lovey.
Then you'll be able to tear it on Could you rise for a moment? I'm going to stand up for just a moment. Say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the world. We believe is a righteous judge. Oh, you got it? Oh, okay. No, it's okay. No, don't rip them up. This one. Go to the reattach it. It's very perfect. It's okay. It's okay. We'll reattach it for today. Lower the casket. Yashov ha'afar al haaretz k'shahaya, v'haruach tashuv el Elohim asher netana. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. We're going to give family members and then everyone assembled the opportunity to place earth into Jay's final resting place. This is considered a high level act of altruistic kindness because Jay will never be able to do this for any of us. So keep that in mind. We just ask that you place the shovel back into the earth rather than hand it to the next person. That's just a tradition for this. So. Anyone else wishing to place some earth into the resting place may come forward at this time. How moves less than sounds like.
Yes. Yes. We have all kinds of cookies. So many chocolate chip cookies. I ended up with like everything that we just do 2 days. So just 6 boxes of candy. 2 big boxes of 30 and 7 boxes of wine, whatever. Like, good. Yeah, no, you're good.
I know.
Let her walk around, honey.
Well, not the Poland. Oh, no.
Our chip goes. You remember. I know.
Atzur Tami Koloki Chodrecha Bishpat El Aminavi Enavel Tzaddik Yashar Hu Atzur Tami L'chol Po'al Miyomer Lamatifal Hashlit Matav Ma'al Memit Mechayem Mordishol Evial Atzur Tami L'chol Maseh Miyomer Lo Mataseh Omer Yosef Chesed Chinam Lanu Taseh Ubizchut Hanekad Kesei Hakshiva V'asei Tzadik Atzah B'chod Rachav Atzur Tamim Erech Apayim U'lerachamim Chamon Avuchis Nalava Dumanim Kilachad Anaslichot Yarachamim Adam V'em Shana Yiyeh O Elef Shanim Yichyeh Ma Yitron Baruch Dayan Oemet Mimid L'chayeh Ledvad Nekisedek Mishpatecha Titzdak B'dabracha B'tizkeh B'shavtecha V'ina Harher Nidat Shavtecha Tzadik Atadunai B'yashar Mishpatecha Dayan Emet Shavei Tzedek V'emet Baruch Dayan Emet Shakol Mishpatav Tzedek V'emet Nefesh Kol Chai B'yadecha Tzedek Mala Yiminecha V'chem Al Pleitat Son Yadecha V'tamar Lamalach Eref Yadecha Adonai Natan V'Adonai Lakach Yishem Adonai V'Barach Yirachum Yechaper Avon V'lo Yashchit Yerbal Yashiv Apol V'lo Ya'ir Kol Achamato In just a moment, we're going to ask Jay's immediate family, 3 children, to say the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Their job is to say the Kaddish. Our job is to answer Amen to the words of the Kaddish, and we'll be saying them together with me. And I'll prompt you for the answers as well, and the responses at the appropriate time. If you're able to rise, please do so. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. Chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lameil maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei l'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran v'yalma v'yimeru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imroma v'hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. El malei rachamim shochena b'amromim. Hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechina. B'mahalot kedoshim u'tiorim, kezohar harakim asirim et nishamat Yaakov ben Avraham v'Peso shahalach li'olamo b'gan Eden tehei menuchato anabal rachamim hastirehu b'seter kanafecha li'olamim Utzeror b'tzara chayim et nishmato Adonai unachalato v'yanuach v'shalom al mishkavo v'namar amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, and perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to J. Gegenberg, Yaakov, the son of Avraham and Pesel, who now rests in his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you to remember all the righteous deeds he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be ever bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he ever rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. I don't happen to have an address for what I know is going to be, so you'll tell me the address in 1 second. Following the conclusion of the interment here, there's going to be a brief period of mourning, and there will be a service. What time are people coming?
Hilltop Reserve.
At the Hilltop Reserve.
Apartment
On the corner of,
Well, it'll be in the party room.
on the corner of Leesdale and Holly.
Corner of Leesdale and Holly in the party room. It's a new development. It's a new place to live, so to speak. And in the party room, what time are people coming?
5:45.
Okay.
I don't know.
After the conclusion of the funeral, people are invited to make their way there. There will be a service this evening conducted by yours truly at 5:45, and your presence at that service would be a source of comfort to the family and an appropriate way to mark the passing of Jake Gegenberg. We're going to conclude by asking all those who are here as friends or extended family to form a double line facing each other. And Jay's family is going to walk through the line, and everyone other than the family is going to repeat after me a certain number of words. And these are traditionally offered at times of grief as words of comfort. So Scott and Lindsay and Lee can make their way. Careful. Make their way through the double line. Please, everyone else, repeat after me. Hamakom. Yenachem. Etchem. B'tov. Sha'ar. Avele. Zion. Yerushalayim. In English, that means, may God comfort you among all who mourn in Zion and for Jerusalem. And may we gather for truly celebratory occasions in the future, we should all say, Amen. You may return to your cars.